500k, that's way too many. Thank you.
I've become so numb, I can't feel you.
There's few channels I can think of that influenced my decision to get into YouTube as much as Matthewmatosis. A fellow Irishman like myself, Matthew didn't let this unfortunate national affliction stop him from putting out some of the best gaming videos on YouTube. He specializes in cutting through the layers of game design, revealing the core of what it is that makes a game enjoyable or not, and he does it both with a surgical precision and a dry wit that makes the lengthy runtimes of his videos fly by in an instant. His breakdown of the issues plaguing BioShock Infinite is near legendary, and his most recent video on God of War is arguably his best work, being not only a solid criticism of the game itself, but what it is to be a person criticizing media on the internet. Or if you'd like something a little lighter and just want to see him get weird, his video on Sonic Dreams Collection is a hoot. Links for everything I talk about in the description below. Okay, so we talked about Showbuckle before, but unfortunately their channel was removed from YouTube. What are you doing, New Japan? You should hire this man. And it especially sucks because since then, Showbuckle has only gone from strength to strength. His video chronicling Finn Balor's descent from nice Irish boyo to psychotic ruthless Demon King being maybe the best thing he's ever done, showcasing not only his ability to weave years of wrestling narrative into a succinct 12 minutes, but also an exceptional example of the incredibly creative editing he puts into his videos. So if you want an accessible and entertaining way to get into the best wrestling promotion on the planet, go find him in his new home over on Vimeo. There's a beautiful simplicity to the channel Other Places. Each of their videos picks a fictional location from within a video game and then spends 2 to 4 minutes moving a virtual camera around it with zero dialogue or commentary, just gorgeously composed camera shots with low tempo music, creating these mesmerizing little pieces of mood and tone that are both incredibly relaxing while also really highlighting just how much you can do with environmental design alone. Some of the locations they've covered include Lordran from Dark Souls 3, Rapture from BioShock, and Yokosaku from Shenmue. But my personal favourite video of theirs is on Paulie's Diner from Batman the Arkham Knight. So if you'd like something relaxing to chill with in these dark winter months, pour yourself a cup of hot chocolate and just melt away with this one. Okay, so this is going to get a little weird. You and I, we are in a fake relationship. If you've watched enough of my videos, you've probably developed some level of either affection or disdain towards me. But what you're actually aiming those feelings at isn't actually me, but a weird curated persona, which is the result of me trying to be as genuine as I can, but subtracting the parts of my life I don't want to share, all being filtered through a rigorous, highly controlled process of scripting and editing. So the thing you're listening to right now isn't even really a person, but a weird internet ghost, and I've always been fascinated by this idea. And it's something that the channel Strucci Movies has done an incredible deep dive on in their video series on parasocial relationships. The total series length so far is at a staggering 2 hours long, and I know that seems like a hell of a commitment, but trust me, stay with this one. It is a fascinating discussion on the bizarre intersection of internet personas and celebrity worship, stripping away the layers of artifice that surround online creators in a documentary that's equal parts funny, touching, and occasionally, at least for me, deeply disturbing. Ultimately, I feel like when you peel back the layers of the different styles of content that are available on YouTube, its core appeal is that it is a friendship simulator, and the beauty of this video is how it lays that truth bare, showing the bizarre and unsettling codependency that forms between audience and creator, and the result is something that I think everyone needs to see. And hey, if that got a little heavy for you, I also really like this video of a frog. I think his tank's getting cleaned and he's not happy about it, and it's just very good. Middle Manager Tonegawa is an odd anime. On one hand, it's hard to really get the most out of it without watching Kaiji Ultimate Survivor first, and on the other, it's not actually much like that series at all, focusing not on the crushing existential dread of living in the modern day society crossed with nerve-splitting body horror, but the daily comedic battles of the Middle Manager Tonegawa, the villain of Kaiji's first season, as he walks the deadly tightrope of maintaining a friendly but authoritative relationship with his employees, while also trying not to infuriate the psychotic president of the Teihai Corporation. And what makes it work is it has Kaiji's intense penchant for surrealist melodrama, but focuses it instead on depicting office bureaucracy with a comedic reverence, like making Tonegawa's efforts to remember his employees' names feel like a hilarious battle of life or death. It frequently borders on ridiculous, but not an episode went by that I didn't have the dumbest grin plastered across my face. So yeah, it's an odd one, but I recommend it. Okay, I'm gonna cheat a little here, but fuck it, I can't wait to talk about this. Jojo's Part 5 recently released, and it may be the strongest adaptation of Jojo so far, visually falling somewhere between the Araki Faithful character art Part 3 and the loose pop art inspired style of Part 4, and the result is just, well, fucking beautiful, ramping up both these shows' bombastic, overdramatic appeal, as well as the delightfully homoerotic undertones. So please, look forward to my Why You Should Watch JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Part 5 coming December 23rd, 2019. When I was a lad, my uncle ran a business fixing old arcade machines, which meant that his warehouse was a magical place where myself and my cousins could play for free games like Bubble Bobble and Street Fighter 2. And it's here where I kind of fell in love with video games, but my favourite machine of all was Final Fight. And so you can imagine my joy at the recent release of Capcom's Fighting Bundle, which featured not only Final Fight, but a host of other nostalgia-inducing scrolling beat-em-ups like Captain Commando and King of Dragons. But the real surprise for me here was discovering Battle Circuit, a beautifully animated scrolling fighter so packed with detail and love that it quickly propelled itself to one of my absolute favourite beat-em-ups right alongside Streets of Rage 2 and the SNES version of Turtles in Time. So if you find walking slowly from left to right and beating the shit out of people as therapeutic as I do, give this collection a shot. Not too long ago, I made a borderline insane 52-minute video about all my issues with Final Fantasy XV, and the biggest compliment I could give Dragon Quest XI is I have basically the exact inverse opinion of it. It is an exceptionally made RPG with love and craft poured into every tiny part of it, from its cutscenes to its world building to its item crafting, which has its own in-depth gameplay mechanics. It all just feels so tight and considered that I invariably lose hours whenever I sit down with this one. I don't know what magic the developers are weaving with their lighting engine, but they found a way to recreate Toriyama's artwork in this beautifully soft, colourful style, which coupled with some phenomenal character design and animation, makes for one of the most visually delightful RPGs I've ever played. I could go on about how fun the cast is, or how the battle system is constantly throwing little surprises at you, but the point is this. This is quite possibly my favourite JRPG since Paper Mario and the Thousand Year Door, and trust me, that is high praise indeed.
It's be more like me and be less like you.
I actually held off on checking out the TV show of Preacher because of how much I liked the comic, an anxiety that was confirmed after hearing lukewarm things about its first season. But fortunately, that's all changed with season 2 and 3, honing down everything that made Garth Ennis's fantasy-tinged western comic great and adapting it fantastically for TV. It's not a straight-up recreation of the comic, but I think it's a far better TV show for it. And what's more, it uses all the elements unique to being a TV show, like music, camera work and sound, to terrific effect. The instance the Saint of Killers showed up being the moment that really sold me.
You're the,
If you're interested in this show but don't want to watch the lackluster first season, here's a primer. God has abandoned his post in heaven, resulting in Jesse Custer, a lapsed preacher, becoming possessed by the demon-angel hybrid Genesis, giving him the ability of the Word of God, meaning people must follow any orders he gives. And so him, his Irish vampire best friend, and his bounty hunter girlfriend, who, just to mention, is played by the exceptional Ruth Negga, giving both an innocence and charisma to Tulip not present in the comics, are on a quest to track down God and make him answer for abandoning the human race. In a hilarious, action-packed and occasionally incredibly dark road trip, that is maybe some of the most fun with television I've ever had. Good Time is a 2018 film from directors Josh and Benny Savdi, starring Robert Pattinson as he plays Connie, a lowlife who, with his mentally challenged brother Nick, rob a bank only for the police to be called and Connie to get away but Nick to be caught, with the entire film taking place over the night that follows, as Connie tries desperately to free Nick from the hands of law enforcement, in a chaotic, neon-soaked adventure through the suburbs of New York City. It is a joyous, hilarious caper, but also a deeply somber reflection on how sometimes trying to do our best for the people we love just isn't enough. That had me in tears by the closing credit sequence. It's currently on Netflix. It's maybe my favorite film I've watched this year, so if you have 2 hours to spare, please watch this movie. The G1 Climax recently took place, which, if you are not familiar, is a round-robin style New Japan tournament where 2 blocks of 10 or so wrestlers compete in one-on-one matches, with the winners of each block eventually facing off in the final. And it is a spectacular showcase of the talent of New Japan. Highlight matches this year include the brutal showdown between old rivals Minoru Suzuki and Hiroshi Tanahashi, the incredible rematch of the Golden Lovers, which made me genuinely think they were going to kill each other, but the standout of the entire tournament for me was the knockdown drag-out brawl that took place between my boyfriend Kota Ibushi and my close personal associate Tomohiro Ishii. I've seen the sentiment going around the internet recently that the best thing about wrestling is what happens outside the ring, and without a hint of shade or malice, it's a hard disagree on that one from me, and this match shows why. A captivating and brutal struggle of 2 people destroying each other in a story that blurs the line between fiction and reality that could only happen inside the ring. If you watch a single wrestling match this year, for the love of God, make it this one. Friends, it is October, which means we are obligated to get a little spooky. So we are now leaving Super Eyepatch Wolf's favorite things and entering Mega Die Patch Wolf's House of Horror. Welcome, friends, to the most horrifying 3 minutes of your cowardly little lives. The way we're going to do that. Actually, no, I'm not doing the voice. I've given you people enough. Please send your Mega Die Patch Wolf fan art to my Instagram. And continuing. The way we're going to do this is that I have 7 pieces of horror media that I've arranged in a gradient from, oh hey, that's a little spooky, all the way down to, oh god, the trauma, why did I watch that, I will never sleep again. And so if you're not good with horror, we have some stuff for you, and if you are, well, just wait till the end of the list. Kicking things off at number 7 is Ghost Hospital, an indie turn-based RPG that walks a fine line between cute and distressing. You play as Robin, who awakens to find herself trapped in a bizarre medical facility run by ghosts. And interestingly, the horror doesn't come from the spectres themselves, but the intense anxiety and self-loathing that punctuate Robin's thoughts, some of which may hit a little close to home if you've ever suffered from depression or anxiety. But what keeps it fun is the genuinely quite funny writing coupled with a really cute pastel art style, resulting in a light but effective piece of horror that most people should be able to enjoy. It's currently only available in demo form over on Itch.io, and I'd love to see it progress into a full game. So if you can, please show Ghost Hospital some much deserved support. At number 6 comes 1989's The Blob, and I only watched this movie recently and I was surprised I'd never heard anybody talk about it, because this movie is so much damn fun. Telling the story of a small western town beset upon by an evil alien blob, the movie has a comedy horror vibe not unlike the first Gremlins film, with some downright awesome practical effects and some wonderfully creative body horror scares. It is a great schlocky slice of 80s horror best enjoyed with some beers and friends, that will entertain without terrifying too badly. At number 5, we have Sweet Home, a Korean manhwa about human internet troll Yeon, who upon losing his family in an accident becomes trapped in an apartment complex where people are transforming into monsters. And it's the monsters that are the real star of the show here. Each one has a really creepy, distinct design and unique abilities that Yeon and the other survivors will need to consider as they navigate the dangerous hallways of the apartment complex, giving the danger present in Sweet Home a tangibility that elevates it above the typical zombie apocalypse scenario. The author using the format of webtoon, which is very different from a manga, to build up tension beautifully and then release it with some really great visual scares. It's all available for free online, and if you need further convincing, Strucci also has a great video on it that I will link in the description below. At number 4, and halfway through our horror-stoked descent, is the music video for DYE Fantasy. 14 sneak into a swimming pool after hours and things go bad. And I just love this video. There's something so cool about its juxtaposition of mellow 80s synthwave and pants-shittingly disturbing horror imagery. It is all kinds of not safe for work and the beginning of our descent into some deeply disturbing shit, and so if you're a horror lightweight, I would approach this, but especially the rest of this list, with caution. Which brings us to number 3. Goodnight Mommy is a German horror film about identical twins whose mother arrives home from a stay in the hospital, only for her to return with her face clad in grotesque bandages. And after a number of bewildering and unsettling encounters, the boys start to wonder who or what is lying underneath the dressing, leading to a slow burn of horror that I struggle to even call enjoyable, but is an expertly crafted hour and 40 minutes of nerve-shredding tension and dread. I want to stress again that this is a really messed up movie, so tread lightly. Oh god, okay. Number 2, Kill List. This is a 2011 UK film that messed me up in a way I don't know I'm ever going to recover from. It centers around a retired hitman pulled back in to do one last job where he has to kill a list of 3 people, in a mission that doesn't just go wrong but descends into a violent nightmare that shows what people are capable of at their absolute worst. I don't want to get too specific, but you will likely never be the same after seeing the text The Hunchback. It is a fantastic, effective, and upsetting piece of horror, but also a really awful and disturbing movie, so really think carefully if this is something you want to experience or not. And finally, number 1, the manga series, A Trail of Blood. Osabe is a high school student whose mom is really not right. And I don't want to get much more specific than that, but the beautiful part of this manga isn't the straight up scares, but how effectively it instills a sense of unease and subtle horror through its artwork alone. I felt more fear from a single panel of a woman smiling than I do from the majority of horror media. And while not as outright shocking as our 2 previous entries, the way the author weaves a subtle sense of terror through his mastery of manga creates this deeply disturbing story of the simple human terror that can come from an unhealthy, possessive relationship. So if you like your horror rooted deep in human emotion, then this one may be for you. But a warning, it depicts an abusive parental relationship as well as the more traumatic sides of being a teenager with an edge that I think a lot of people will find distressing. Which is why I recommend it with some reluctance, but also what makes it such a compelling piece of horror, and something completely unlike anything else I've ever experienced. And I look forward to talking more about it, as well as the author's other work, in a future video. Friends, that's gonna do it. I want to say genuinely thank you for 500k. While having a following of that size does actually really scare the shit out of me, I'm also so grateful that I get to do this and that so many people are willing to watch my stuff. I want to give 2 quick shoutouts here, the first being to Poolboy for once again letting me use his Shooting Parks track. Check him out over on SoundCloud, he is awesome. And the second being to Fall Dogs for the mega die patch wolf design. She's an awesome artist, so find her and her artwork over on Twitter at Fall Dogs. Massive thank you especially to my loyal army of internet ghosts over on Patreon, whose support puts the electricity in my computer that I need to make these videos happen. And if you would like to donate your electricity in the form of a single $1, head on over to patreon.com/super eyepatchwolf. Special shoutouts this week to Joel G, CG Man, Jacob WP, Julia Bell, ASMR Comics, Sam Lossiraptor, and Escape Jam. If you want to hear a little more from me, come hang out on the Let's Fight a Boss video game podcast, or find me on Twitter at eyepatchwolf. Friends, take care of yourselves, and I'll see you next time.